Hello everyone, hope you are doing very well. Today in this video we will talk about the age of revival or the time after GeoffreyChaucer's death. Chaucer died in 1400. So what happened after his death? What about the historical and political background? What were the characteristics of literature? And who were the most famous authors? We will talk about all these important things in this video. So watch the full video without skipping. Beside that, you can spread literature by subscribing to our channel. But for now, let's make English straightforward. The Age of Revival started in 1400 and went on until 1558. This time saw many historical events, and one of them was the War of Roses. War of Roses was the series of conflicts and civil wars between two royal families of England. They both were trying to have the throne of England. One of them was the House of York. Their symbol was a white rose. And the other one was the House of Lancaster. Their symbol was a red rose. This is why this war is named the War of Roses. I think you understand the point. This war was fought between 1455 and 1485. The two parties were of same strength, and so the parties gained and lost power multiple times. At last, Richard III was killed during the fight, and Henry VII was crowned as the new king of England. The fearful reign of Richard III ended here, and a growth of nationalism started under the Tudor kings. Henry VII was the new king, and England started to develop in this time. Britain gained its power amongst other European countries. Now this was the time when Renaissance started to build up. At first, we have to understand that the Age of Revival means the revival of learning, the revival of art, the revival of literature and culture. After the intellectual darkness of Middle Age, an enlightenment came in this period. The Age of Revival was actually the time of a transition from the Middle Age to the Modern Age. It was the time of rebirth for European art and culture. Age of Revival inspired people to free themselves from medieval culture. Now let us discuss about the characteristics of the literature and what were its features. In the revival time, people started to read Old Latin and Roman literature. As they felt free from the society's conventions, people tried to rethink about their actions. Many scientific experiments happened in this time. Knowledge and emotions spreaded everywhere, and that was one of the essence of English Renaissance. Authors and readers enjoyed reading classical literature. Renaissance first started in Italy, and it came to England much later. But this Age of Revival was the time of preparation for Renaissance. So people were full of new thoughts and ideas, and all these thoughts and ideas were reflected in literature. And one of the crucial and decisive moments of history was the introduction of printing press in England. William Caxton, who was a merchant and writer, considered to introduce printing machine in Britain in 1476. Now that was a huge story, because before this all books were to be handwritten. That was not easy. Think you have to write several copies of books by your own hand. Crazy. But after printing press came to England, you guess what? Yes, literature flourished all over England. Education was spread and new schools and universities were established. Literature became available for most of the common people without any great cost. Printing press influenced the way people thought and their lifestyles. Many books started to publish as the costing and time were crunched. This is also important because William Caxton started to print all famous English literature written by popular writers. Next highlighted thing is that the coming up of English Bible in 1450. Johannes Gutenberg printed this. After this incident, many scholars translated not only Bible but also other major writings from Greek, Latin and Hebrew. Then Miles Coverdale printed the first complete English Bible in 1535, which is called the Coverdale Bible. This first complete Bible edition consists of both Old and New Testaments. The two massive books that were published during this time were Praise of Folly by Erasmus and Utopia by Thomas More. These two books were written originally in Latin, but soon they were translated in many other European languages. The Praise of Folly was published in 1511 and Utopia was published in 1516. Many translations occurred in this time, but beside translations, we can talk about original writings in English. Many famous prose, poetries and dramas were composed during this age of revival. Age of revival is called the age of preparation. Preparation for what? Preparation for the next literary outcome, and we can have the indication in the prose writings. Prose writings became very common and they were not conservative, they were innovative and different in style. Poetries were also a major part of this time's literature. Many authors tried new techniques in their poetry writings. Sonnets were coming in front. Sonnet writing was an Italian culture, but soon England adopted the sonnet writing style with some poets like Thomas Wade. But most importantly, dramas started to becoming popular in this time. Elizabethan period was famous for its dramas, but the writings of dramas started formation in this age of revival. Many types of dramas were written in this time, like mystery dramas, miracle dramas, morality dramas, political and religious dramas, and so on. Now let's give you some information about the famous authors of this time. Famous poets of this time were John Lydgate, John Skelton, Stephen Howells, Robert Henryson, William Dunbar, and others. Many authors practiced prose writings like Thomas More and Erasmus. John Heywood was one who contributed to the English dramas in this time. Beside them, we can name some other popular writers like Thomas Wilson, John Fisher, Henry Bradshaw, George Asbey, and so on. Now for the bonus talk, we have something interesting for you. The age of revival was the age of reformation and recovery from the dark side of Middle Age. In this time, proud to share that many women came up with their writing abilities. That was awesome, right? Because writing in 15th or 16th century was not so easy for the girls. Christine de Pizan is thought to be one of the earliest women who chose writing as their career. Though she was a poet at the court of France, but she wrote many writings in English, which inspired thousands and millions of girls. Other famous women writers we know about are Dame Julian or Mother Julian and Marguerite Kemp. Her famous books are How to Be a Medieval Woman and The History of Young Edwin and Little Jessie. So that's it for today's video. We discussed about the history, politics, literature, and famous authors. We talked about printing press and the earliest editions English Bible. Hope you got the concept, because information is everywhere, but you can get straightforward English only in this channel. So make sure you support us by subscribing, and we highly recommend you to watch our previous video on the age of Chaucer. Believe me, that will help you a lot. If you have any question or doubt regarding this video, you are free to ask in the comment box. But now, tell me goodbye. We'll be meeting on another Slideshow English video.